And at this time, I will call to order the Stillwater Utilities Authority meeting for May 19th, 2025. Trustees, questions, comments, or motion action on the consent docket?
Motion to approve the consent docket.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve consent. Please vote. The vote of 4-0, the consent docket is approved. Under general orders, we have water supply and treatment project updates.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. Candy Starring and Chris Humes here tonight to give you an update on our raw water supply and treatment projects for the city. A lot of others have been involved in this as well that are in the room. Bill Millis, David Barth, James Driscoll. At the end, if there's questions, any of those can be asked, as well as Chris and I. I'm going to take you on a little bit of a trip down memory lane. In August 2022, this was the phased improvement plan that staff brought to you all. It replaced a plan that was to build a brand new plant for $350 or $400 million that we didn't come up with the funds. And so we came to you with a phased rehab plan, and this is what it looked like. That other plan would not have taken use of our McMurtry rights. This red line and red phase indicates the development of our McMurtry rights by a pump station and a bi-directional line where we can bring from McMurtry and take back to, and from Caw to McMurtry or from McMurtry to the plant. In the last 3 years, we've had a few things change that I want to flip back and forth through this. If you're caustics feed, green circle, that is in a chemicals building up north. You can see that it moved up there. And then our lime silo moved to the south of the SCU where it was before going to be a demo and a rebuild. I also want to point out a few costs that we can now finalize because we've gone through construction. So our green phase, after either constructing or bidding those, that went to 31 million instead of 25. And our yellow phase chemicals, we bid that, and that's 28 million, not 23. These are all construction phase costs, so they don't include design, but they include construction and inspection and contingency and construction admin. So of the red, well, the highest priority projects were the green, red, and the yellow. And we immediately started, after we brought this to you in August 22, with scoping for those. And we want to give you an update of where those are today. And Chris Humes is going to be presenting that. And then when he steps back down, I'll go into the medium priority projects, and then we'll close with questions.
Good evening, Mayor, Councilors. So I wanted to talk about specifically 3 of the projects that we've been working on out there at the water treatment plant. First one I'm going to talk about is the finished water pump station that we started on about a year ago. And so on the picture on the left there is the brand new finished water pump station we're building. You can kind of see off to the left, the green one is the old one that we're still using today. And so what the finished water pump station does is once water has been treated and it's ready for drinking, then it distributes it out to the 3 pressure zones. So it'll send it out to the northeast zone, the central zone, and then the Yoast pressure zone. And so we're thinking of the future all the time. We're actually building this one for 24 million gallons per day, and then making accommodations for 30 million gallons per day, just because it's cost effective to do it now. And so what you see there is we've kind of done everything below ground. We've got all the suction piping done, the discharge piping, the big pump cans that'll go in there. There's actually 4 of them. And within those pump cans will go the 1,900 horsepower that'll get installed also during this project. So we're about half done with this project. If things are going well, it's on time, it's on budget. And then to the right, also part of this same project, is the recovered water pump station. And so one of the first things we do when water gets to the water treatment plant is we knock out all the solids in there and they go out to these lagoons, but with it comes water. And so we recirculate that water back up to the beginning of the plant, so it makes the plant more efficient and as well. So this project here is about a $30 million project all in. Let's see, I think I covered most of these as well. So the next project I want to talk about is the chemicals project. It started at the beginning of this. Yes.
If you could go back just to the funding there. The $30 million, partially funded by ARPA. The rest of it's coming out of basically rates, correct?
Correct,
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
yeah.
Sort of.
And Candy will get into more of the dollars at the end, so.
Yeah.
And one other question, what's our current water consumption? This is up to 24 million gallons a
So,
day?
yeah, so on average, we use about 6 to 8 million a day. Our peak is around 14, and historically, there was a peak in the winter and also in the summer, the hot days, everybody's running their sprinkler systems. We also experienced a new peak about a month ago when we had the fires. That was around 14 as well. So,
Someone's going to ask this question when the meeting's all over. So with the data center added, what is our average consumption expected to be?
I've been involved.
So we talked a lot about
Yeah.
this during our OG&E vote and the public vote, and the economic development agreement that was approved by City Council authorized 2.7 MGD for the first 2 phases. There are projects that are benchmarks that move it up to 3.5, and so but the current allotment is 2.7 MGD. So of the 50 million gallons per day water rights that we have on call, we currently, as Chris mentioned, 14 is our peak. So we will be planning on a hot day that peak then increases by that 2.7. But yes, our normal flow is around 6 to 8 MGD per day.
Yep.
And that 2.7 is for the first 2 data centers?
That's correct.
Okay,
Yeah,
Which is all we've approved.
Yes.
right.
that's correct.
And the pump station is designed for 24 million gallons a day, up to 30. But are we actually producing 24 million gallons? At this point, we're not even producing that much.
No,
correct?
there's a lot more work that needs to be done to get there. The plant can do 18.
Yeah.
And so it's just that when you looked at the horsepower and size of pumps, it was really negligible to go to 24. And if we're going to get there eventually, then it just made more sense.
Yes.
It was much more cost effective to do it
Yeah,
then.
good.
And that's
planning ahead.
that's why I just wanted to point out that this is sized for even growing the plant itself. This is going to be ready when we put more production in place. This pump station will be.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good question. All good questions. So the second project that we started at the beginning of this year is the chemicals project. So this kind of touches a lot of the other things out there as well. What you see here is not the new equipment we put in. It's actually the old equipment that was put in back in the early 80s that will be replaced as part of this project. But on the left there is the old CO2 system that we'll be replacing, and on the right is the lime system. When you drop out all the solids, it raises the pH, and so we use CO2 to kind of lower the pH a little bit to make it more pH we want for treatment. And then the lime system is what we use for softening and knocking out the solids in the water. So this picture was taken about a week ago, and so we actually have about 30 contractors working out there. There's a lot of activity out there. What you can see, the red circles there is going to be the new lime silo system. It's going to be 20 feet in diameter and 60 feet tall. If you went out there today, there's actually 5 rings up there now. You can see 2 there. So we're up 5 now, and then there'll be 9 total. And so you can see the other 2 on the ground there. To the right there is one of the SCUs. Normally that's full of water, and so that you wouldn't be able to see down in there when it's filled up with water.
Okay, define SCU for us.
Solids contact unit. So when the water comes in from Call Lake, it's got some sediment in it, and so we use that to kind of knock out the sediment in the water. And so kind of the first stage of cleaning of the water to make it ready for drinking. So the lagoons you see out there in the distance. So when you build up solids in there, you have to flush those down to the lagoons, and then that's the white building off in the upper right-hand corner. That's the recovered water pump station we talked about a couple of slides back. And then in the upper left-hand corner, that's the finished water pump station where you can see the trailer. That's the job trailer for the job, just past it. But that's where we're building the new finished water pump station as well. And so some of the other things we're going to touch on this project, we're going to touch the ozone system. So that's our primary disinfectant. So that's one of the last things we do before we send the water out to distribution is we zap it with some ozone. And then the other thing we're going to touch is the chlorine system as well. So we're also building a new chemicals building, and Candy will talk about some of the funding of that as well. But in here will be the caustic system, which helps with the longevity of the water, the water quality out and distribution. It'll also have our hexametaphosphate, which helps with the longevity of the pipe out in the system. So it helps to reduce the corrosion of the pipe out in distribution. And then the LAS for the stabilization of the chlorine out in distribution too. So it'll help with water quality and the time that it can reside out there. See, I think I've covered a lot of these. We're about 10% done by dollars. So this is being designed for 18 MGD and accommodations up to 24. And again, it'll improve the water quality, and this project's on time and on budget. And so the last project I'd like to talk about is a very exciting one. So this is, we're working on a secondary water source for the city of Stillwater. So I know you all know today that our water comes from Call Lake through a 36-inch steel pipeline that was built back in the early 80s. And we need to run some equipment through there where we can see where the corrosion pits are, and we can focus on strategically making those repairs at a very cost-efficient amount of money by using this equipment. So in order to do that, though, today you can only shut down that line for about 6 hours, and then we start to run out of water. And so we need this secondary source to feed water to the city. And so that's going to be one of the reasons why this project's important, is for water resiliency. But it's also important for a very cost-effective way to do peak shaving. And so what peak shaving is just like we talked about earlier, our average demand is 6 to 8 million gallons per day, but it can go up to 14 as well. And so you really need to design your water source for your peak days. And so that would mean building a secondary line all the way down from Call. Well, that would be very expensive, but a very cost-effective way is to build a 7-mile pipeline over to Lake McMurtry, where we also have water rights. And we can also move water strategically from Call to Lake McMurtry, and then when we're ready to use it, we can bring it back. So on those peak days when we're getting the water we want from Call, then we can turn on the McMurtry line system and supplement that water as well. And so that's peak shaving. And so this probably saves the ratepayers $100 million by doing this project. So they'll also include a pump station, and so it's designed for 24 MGD with accommodations up to 30. So this will sit right below the dam there at Lake McMurtry. And so water will come through the pipeline, through the green line, all the way into the lake. And then when we're ready to pump out of the lake, then the water will come through that pump station and go right back up that line. And then we're also designing, because we deliver water to the Otoe, Missouri tribe, that if we're working on the north end of the Call line, then we can push water all the way up the Otoe, Missouri tribe. And so they will always have a water supply source. If we're working on the segment past that or south of that, then we can feed them from the Call line into there, and then we would feed ourselves from Lake McMurtry. Let's see, so we've just completed the 60% design of the pipeline. We're very close on the 60% design of the pump station. We expect to start talking to landowners for easements in the fall, and then start construction in the spring of 2026, and then put the line in service in January of 2028.
That's great. I was thinking it was farther out than that.
Brady keeps pushing us to go faster, and we keep listening to him and following his orders. So don't want to disappoint him. So. No, it's a great project. It's good for the city, and so we're excited to get this one kicked off. So.
Great.
Just curiously, is Lake McMurtry below us or above us? Are we pumping uphill or downhill? Which way are we going?
So it's downhill from the water treatment plant, but there's a lot of ups and there's a lot of undulations. And so ironically, we'll have to if we want to split the stream coming from Call, we'll actually have to have a control valve to push some of the water into the plant, and that way we can do a slipstream to send some down to McMurtry. So the way the hydraulics work out with just frictional losses and stuff, it's actually a little easier to get it into McMurtry than it is to get it into the plant, ironically. All right, Candy.
Yes, so McMurtry is as important to us today as Call was in 1975 when that group was making those approvals. And today when we're setting this up, it's just as critical. And we're moving into land acquisition next, because we're about 60% design, and next we'll move into land and charge forward. So returning to this phased plan, Krista's talked about the highest priority, green, red, and yellow. And for the blue items, the solids contact unit, filters, and clear well, the SCU rehab maintenance level projects are included in our FY25 plan. And the filters and clear well are going to be added to our FY26 plan that is just now beginning to be scoped. This is what that is looking like right now. We've asked our consultant team to start with a scope. It's an expansion from 18 to 24 because our demands have increased and we know about some new demands in our system, with industrial customer being one of them. And also our agreement with OSU that at any point they might be a backup customer to us, so we have to think about them. And when you get to a place where you're 80 to 90% of your peak, you have to start planning because it takes 5 years to go through permitting and design and all of that, construction, startup, everything. And then during some of our evaluations that started in around 17, we identified our filters, and that is on the plan for the filters, the whole filters. We have some problems with our filters in the way that they backwash and in our access to the filter gallery, and it's just a real, the configuration is a disadvantage to us, and so it's been recommended to us that we replace them completely. And so this map, I know it's very busy, but the purple is attempting to show you what an expansion might look like in the train and adds a new phase. It also, as far as we had the gray phase on there that was to look at parallel crossings on CAW. We're going to defer that until later because this expansion is so important. And looking from right to left, starting at the solids contact unit, SCU, the things that we'll touch on an expansion are the SCU, the CO2 basin, the filters, which will be in a completely new set of filters, the ozone, and we'll have a new clear well. We right now have that one about to be abandoned, if it's not already permanently abandoned. It's about to be disconnected instead of just valves shut per some DEQ requirements. And at any plant, if you don't have two of them, you can't maintain one of them. So we have to have a second clear well, and we'll look at that. For an expansion, the chemicals are always looked at. Those are those 5 stars. And then I know you all have heard about PFAS. We're going to throw that in the FY26 program to find a solution for that, whether that's a side stream or adding a certain media to our new filters. That's unknown yet, and we don't have a cost for that. It's just going to be studied. And lastly, when we take off that gray phase of of the parallel crossings, and we add what we estimate an expansion might be, we get up to about 210 million plus the PFAS cost for all these phases. That used to be, yes, it's hard to look at. So we will continue to look at loans and grants to get through this. And speaking of grants, this is a bit of a summary to show you what we've received grants for so far. The yellow or the blue rows show you the projects that are either complete or in construction or in design or in planning. And the grant approved so far is about 9.5 for different construction projects. The grant applications we have right now only for the supply and treatment is 1 million that's going to be related to the North SCU. There were ARPA funds used for design on the finished water pump station, so you could really add 2 to that 9.5 in total to get 11.5. And then for the future projects where we're not really sure of the total cost for the water treatment plant expansion, filters, clear well, PFAS, that's all just question marks. We'll end up using a lot of loans. We're working with finance right now on how to fund the FY25 program and McMurtry, which total about 95 million just between those two things. The FY25 program has more than just, yes, it's a heartbreaker. So a lot to spend. Thankfully, we did the rate increases in late 2023, and those are going a long ways to help us pay back these loans. But this is critical needs, and we're pushing through as quickly as we can.
Yeah, because when you say loans, that's a revenue ratepayer loan, right? I mean, we're paying those loans. We get those
Yes.
relatively low interest
Yes.
rate loans through the Water
SRF or
Resources
FAP,
Board, or-
different
yeah.
options, yes, and the
And then
ratepayers
we
pay
them
those loans
from
back,
rates. Yeah.
usually 30 years.
So the things that were on the other slide, the high priority, yes, the green, red, and yellow, we have those. Okay, I'm looking at all of the projects we just discussed. The green and the yellow are in process, and then the red, which is the Lake McMurtry, we're at 60% in terms of design.
Yeah, when you say
correct?
in process, if you're talking about construction, there are some that are actually done with construction.
Okay.
Lagoons
Okay.
and one other one. Thank
Okay.
you. Cathodic protection are done completely off of our books. And then recovered water pump station, recycled pump station, and the new finished water pump station are being built.
Okay. And then the chemicals project is
In construction.
in construction. Okay. Just making sure
Yes.
I understood.
And the red is 60% design, moving into land acquisition next.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
When that pipeline's done, all of those high priority items will all be done.
Indeed.
And honestly, the medium priority stuff will probably be done, some of it.
SCUs, filters, no.
Oh, okay.
No. We're going to do filters with our plant expansion. Chris, what was your date for being done with McMurtry? 28?
Yes.
We won't be done with our plant expansion by
Okay.
20 to 28. Not construction, maybe design.
Sure.
It does take a while to move through these steps.
Okay, if you could run back to the numbers real quick for me.
Are you these?
Yeah, sorry. And I don't know if you were finished or.
I am.
Okay.
I thought she was.
Just jump to questions. You mentioned ARPA funds of a couple $1 million somewhere in one of those numbers, but we dedicated all of our ARPA funds, $8 million or so, right, to water projects. Where are they in this chart?
There was, I might need help.
So that 8.6, 8.7
Yeah.
million all went to, it was design and lagoon dredging, I
Okay.
believe. So the $2 million that's reflected here was additional ARPA funds through the Water Resources Board.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, but we already spent the rest of it on the lagoon project, which is done. Or mostly on the lagoon project, which
Yeah,
is done.
everything's encumbered. We haven't spent it all, but it's all obligated.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
And there are grants also being assigned to non-raw water supply and treatment projects, like just system sewer line work.
Yep.
And
Yeah, and that, I mean, that's actually a really good point, that we're talking about. I don't know what the grand total here is. Is that 85 million a grand total?
yes, it is.
That's
It is
just
not?
on
No, it
the,
is not. I'm sorry.
Oh.
I'd want 210 million. 210
210.
million is the total.
I like 85.
Going to say the
better.
priority projects were like
Oh, that's
124
the- I gotcha. Yeah,
million.
yeah, okay.
Is that
Sorry.
correct?
Yeah, right.
I was trying to be
I like
optimistic.
your number better.
That's all on the raw water side. This is in addition to things that we're doing on the clean water side, on the treated water side, right? We've got towers, transmission lines, all of the water line we're doing in the college neighborhood.
Yes, our
That's all-
FY25 program has 2 lift station replacements in it, totaling almost 2 million. That's the clean water side. And then there's 3 water lines, there's some distribution tank rehabs, there's CUs. So there's more things going on than just the raw water and treatment.
Which I just make a point of to say that you guys are really busy. And hopefully people who are out there watching this, and I'm sure there's literally hundreds watching, should understand that what it takes to put clean water into your sink
Yeah.
or your bathtub or wherever you're using your clean water at home is an unbelievable amount of work and really an unbelievable amount of money to keep this stuff moving and up to date. And thanks for making sure that
Yep.
it keeps moving.
Yeah, I'll plug that a little
And-
bit farther. We're hiring. We need more people to help, so.
And on that note, if you may, council, I wanted to just take this time to celebrate the career of Candy starring at the City of Stillwater and show our appreciation Unfortunately, she has announced her retirement from the city and will be leaving us soon at the end of the month. She's been, I'm trying to just think of different ways I could describe Candy, but she's an extremely loyal employee, constantly fighting for our community and our infrastructure. And this water is her passion, it's her background. She's a professional engineer, certified to do everything, and she has led our teams in all different ways here at the city, but her passion is in water, and she's had a huge impact on this water projects. And her team has been working so hard. Chris, the rest of the crew, David when he was in that role as well, Bill Millis, all of them have worked so hard to get this path back on track with the guidance of this council, making these decisions. I remember you all saw these Navy slides. I was joking; they're ugly, but they're navy with prime colors. But anyway, you saw these slides 3 or 4 years ago, and you all helped make the decision that needed to be made, which was that McMurtry pipeline and the importance of it. And so we've been all pushing hard together with finance and all these different teams working together. This is a huge, critical project for our community. And so grateful for Candy's leadership. We are sorry to see her leaving, but we are excited for her next phase in life. She deserves a reset and a time to see what's next. And so we're not closing the door on her possibly helping us in the future in some capacity on our water projects, but we're grateful for her leadership, for what she's done for the department and for the city of Stillwater, and we look forward to the next phase with Bill Millis leading us in that department.
Thank you for the kind words. I've loved every day, every moment, and I'm a very small part of a huge undertaking, so I appreciate all that you've said.
Thank you so much for your service. There's no action on that item. Any further questions, comments regarding the raw water treatment? Anything further from the board? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn the Stillwater Utilities Authority. Please vote. A vote of 4-0. The Stillwater Utilities Authority is now adjourned, and that concludes our meetings for the evening. Thank you.